Welcome to Bond and Bondage Helpline, where we untangle human emotions. No safe word required. I'm Stella Black. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for your weekly glimpse behind the curtain of human behavior. Underneath the buzzwords and the Instagram therapy pros, emotional intelligence is a set of trainable operations. It is not niceness, and it is not charm. It's an ability profile you can watch on a bad day. Can this man accurately label what he feels? Can he discern what those emotions are signaling? Can he use that information to guide judgment rather than hijack it? And can he regulate arousal so his behavior stays aligned with his values when it would be easier to attack, avoid, or numb? That four-part sequence sounds abstract, but in real life, it looks like this. He notices the heat in his chest and the tension in his jaw. He names it, embarrassed, defensive, and he buys time instead of buying a fight. He asks for 10 minutes, regulates, and then returns to the topic without punishing you for needing to talk. That is not personality, that is skill. If you want a clean way to think about regulation, think earlier beats later. The people who suffer least intervene upstream. They select or shape situations so there's less gasoline lying around. They redirect attention before a thought spiral cements. They change the meaning of an event with deliberate reappraisal. Only at the end, when the train is already moving, do they try to clamp down on expression. Mature partners live upstream. Fewer late nights when they know they're short-fused, 10-minute buffers before difficult dinners, a practiced reframe when they catch a hot thought like, "She's attacking me." No, she's anxious and asking for structure. Suppression has its place in emergencies, but if that's the primary move, the cost shows up in the body and in the aftermath. Two other pillars hold the house up: mentalization and distress tolerance. Mentalization is the unglamorous habit of keeping minds in view when stress hits. My mind, your mind, the third story that might also be true. Under threat, most people's capacity to imagine another's inner world collapses. They stop asking, "What might you be feeling?" and start assuming, accusing, or withdrawing. Retaining curiosity when your stomach drops is not a temperament gift, it's a trained reflex. Distress tolerance is equally plain. Can I stay in this conversation while my nervous system surges without fixing, fleeing, or fighting for 90 seconds I'd rather skip? People like to mythologize these skills. In practice, they are drills and they are teachable. Now add the cultural context men grow up in. Many boys are handed a narrow emotional palette. Anger earns permission. Tenderness is privatized. Sadness is suspicious unless converted to stoicism on schedule. Language for internal states is under-practiced. The result isn't villainy, it's a predictable difficulty identifying and describing feelings and a predictable reliance on control strategies when feelings surge. If worth is earned through performance and composure, emotion can feel like incompetence leaking. Add an attachment template where closeness maps onto danger, common enough, and intimacy becomes a physiological problem. Proximity raises arousal. Arousal exceeds skill, and skill deficits get papered over with defensiveness, stonewalling, or counterattack. None of this excuses harm. It explains patterns so you can choose with clear eyes. Here's the clinical lens I want you to use. Evaluate men by what they do when they're uncomfortable. Comfortable is cheap. Uncomfortable is the X-ray. A man with emotional intelligence shows his work. He names the state and links it to an action plan. I'm bristling and a bit ashamed. Give me 10 and I'll come back. He regulates before he reacts. Pause, breathe, time out, return. So the conversation survives his spike. He stays curious under pressure, which is what mentalization looks like alive. Help me understand what this meant to you. Not, let me explain why you're wrong. He owns impact without litigating intent and offers repairs you can put on a calendar. Acknowledgement, validation, amends, and one prevention step you will actually see. Phone face down at meals, calendar invite for chores, a new rule for conflict starts. He receives no as information, not an indictment. His conflict hygiene is plain and consistent. one issue at a time, no global diagnoses of your character, willingness to circle back when either of you floods, and micro moments tell the truth. The reservation is lost, traffic is thick, the waiter is slow, you set a boundary. He problem solves instead of personalizing. Why does this matter? Because intimacy is a physiological sport. A good relationship reduces the energy cost of being alive. When you're with a partner who can co-regulate, your threat system spends less time redlined and more time idling. You think clearer, you sleep deeper, your immune system stops acting like your house is on fire. Flip it. Life with a partner who can't regulate and won't repair keeps your system in a low-grade mobilization, vigilance, shallow breathing, hair trigger startle, tension headaches, emotional hangovers after conflicts that never actually end. That wear and tear accumulates. It looks like irritability you can't shake, fatigue that coffee can't touch, a home you dread returning to even when nothing overtly terrible is happening. You're not too sensitive. Your body is paying invoices your relationship keeps generating. What does low emotional intelligence look like on the ground? Often it's not explosive, it's attrition. You start managing his state to keep the night from going sideways, choosing safe topics, padding your tone, editing your honesty. Invalidation becomes wallpaper. You're too sensitive? That's not what I said. You always. Accountability gets displaced by explanation. Yes, but is the warm-up to every sentence. Apologies are non-apologies. Sorry you feel that way. Followed by the same behavior. Conflicts loop. Escalation, retreat, silence, amnesia, repeat. Invisible labor expands. You carry logistics and the emotional weather report. Set a boundary and pay a tax, pouting, pressure, a delayed jab for daring to say no. No single incident is catastrophic, the slope is. If you're always reorganizing yourself around his dysregulation, you will, eventually, feel smaller inside your own life. The antidote is not sermons, it's training. You train a regulation pipeline the way you train a muscle group, one lever at a time, weekly. Start upstream. Situation selection and modification. Fewer late triggers, more buffers, better sleep, fewer ambush conversations. Attention deployment. When you feel irritable, you stop scanning for slights. You put the phone face down at meals. You write the point before you send the text. Cognitive change. One deliberate reappraisal per hot thought. She's attacking me becomes, she's afraid we're drifting and she's asking for structure. And you say it out loud once because hearing it recruits different circuitry than silently stewing. Response modulation is last. 90 seconds of paced exhale breathing, a cold water face dunk, a 2-minute sprint, simple maneuvers that drop arousal enough to get your prefrontal cortex back in the driver's seat. None of this is glamorous, all of it is effective. Layer in mentalization drills, because most fights are failures of imagination. Once a week, run this script. If I were my partner right now, what might I be feeling, fearing, and needing? Then test it. Accurate enough? If you don't check, you're not mentalizing, you're guessing. Add distress tolerance practices. One skill for staying put while your nervous system surges, cold splash, paced breathing, naming 5 things in the room, a 90-second ice hold, so you don't outsource your feelings to the nearest target. And install a repair script that you can say while mildly flooded. I see what I did. I imagine it landed like blank. I'm sorry. Here's how I'll prevent it next time. Did I miss something? If you hate scripts, use them anyway. Good repairs are boring and specific, not poetic. Screening should happen early and in motion, not after you're entangled. 3 field tests tell you almost everything you need. First, the first no test. Say no to something he wants. Plans, sex, a preference, and watch the next 24 hours. Respect plus a steady tone is green. Pouting, pressure, or performative kindness followed by a delayed jab is red. Second, the micro-rupture test. Offer light feedback. When you checked your phone, I felt dismissed. Look for 3 beats, acknowledgement of impact, curiosity about your experience, and one small preventive change you can see. If you get intent lawyering and a vibe tax, the result is in. Third, the timeout test. In heat, say, I'm flooded. 10 minutes, then we resume. A solid partner co-authors the return, time, place, topic. A shaky one treats timeout as exit or victory. Flooding is a body event. Good partners help each other downshift because they'd rather win the day than win the moment. Let's make this concrete with 2 brief vignettes. In the first, a couple is late to a friend's dinner. He feels the flick of shame. Tardiness means incompetence in his private code, and that shame spikes into irritability. Low EI reflex. He snaps about your shoes, blames the traffic, drives aggressively, arrives hot, and stews. High EI sequence. He names it, I'm embarrassed and getting prickly. Give me 2 minutes before we walk in. Does a quick reset in the car and tells the host, thanks for bearing with us, while actually enjoying the night. Same situation, different pipeline. In the second vignette, you say you're not up for intimacy tonight. Low EI reflex. Pouting, silent treatment, passive-aggressive comments tomorrow. High EI response. Got it. Anything you need from me tonight. And the tone stays kind. Next day is normal. The difference is not romance, it's regulation. If you choose to work on this as a couple and conditions are safe, treat it like a clinical trial. 1 skill per week, 3 relevant opportunities in 30 days. Track trend, not perfection. You should see earlier interventions showing up. He leaves on time, texts before he's late, asks for a pause at the first sign of heat. Cleaner conflict hygiene, 1 issue at a time, mutual timeouts, clear returns, and repairs that stick. The amends includes a prevention step you actually observe. If the trend is up, you have a learner. If the trend is flat or negative, believe it. Do not confuse insight with change. The only valid metric is behavior you can film. If you choose to stay, build behavioral contracts, not philosophical ones. Care more is useless. On weekdays, phone lives outside the bedroom. If either of us grabs it, the other says reset and we both put them away, is workable. Decide in advance what happens when someone leaves mid-conflict, how long, who restarts, where you resume, what topic you're on, because improvising those rules in the middle of a spike is how fights sprawl. Learn to mark the end of a repair. We're square for now. If I miss again, I'll bring it up. So resentments don't keep unpaid tabs. And split invisible labor on purpose. Calendar it. Emotional labor counts as labor. Gratitude counts as hygiene. If you choose to leave, that's not failure. It's a controlled comparison. The question is simple. Does proximity to this man co-regulate you or dysregulate you? Expect 3 phases. Decompression. Your body drops out of fight or flight and you realize quiet is not boredom, it's oxygen. Destabilization. Intermittent reinforcement unwinds and your brain misses the highs. You will be tempted to label the absence of chaos as emptiness. Hold the line. Recalibration. Standards return. Red flags become bright again. You remember what no cost for saying no feels like. Track sleep, appetite, and social contact weekly. Your body will report truth before your nostalgia does. And make solitude rich on purpose, friends, family, movement, projects, so your nervous system learns that connection doesn't require self-abandonment. There are a few hard rules worth carving into the doorframe to keep you from gaslighting yourself. The 10% rule. In a healthy bond, less than 10% of conversations are about the relationship itself. If most nights turn into repair nights, you don't have a relationship, you have a renovation. The first no rule. The first time you say no is when you meet the real man. That response predicts the next year better than the best first date ever will. The 3 trial rule. Once a behavior is clearly named and a simple plan exists, visible improvement should show up across 3 relevant chances. You're looking for trend, not miracle. The apology rule. If it takes a paragraph to explain, it isn't an apology. The nervous system rule. Over 90 days, your baseline should be calmer with him than without him. If not, your data has spoken. For men who want to build this, stop trying to be impressive. Aim to be reliable. Learn the names of your states and practice using them in plain speech. Install 2 upstream habits you can repeat under stress. A boundary around sleep and a boundary around screens when you're with someone you love. Trade debate club for curiosity when your partner is distressed. Ask 3 questions before you explain one thing. When you feel the shame to anger arc light up, treat it like a weather alert. Slow your speech, drop your shoulders, lengthen your exhale, and declare a timeout before your mouth outruns your mind. Return when you said you would. Make one change you can see by Friday. Do this enough times and you will feel your own body trust you again. Your partner will notice before you do. For women evaluating partners, retire the fantasy that charisma on the good nights predicts anything that matters. Grade the unglamorous parts. How quickly can he recover from a spike? How accurately can he mirror what you just said before he replies? How small and specific are his repairs? How does he treat your boundaries when the answer is no? How similar is his behavior across contexts where he has nothing to gain? These aren't romantic questions. They are survival questions for intimacy that wants to last. Finally, a word about hope and standards. Emotional intelligence is not rare genius. It's adult skill. Many men weren't taught it. Some will learn gladly once they understand it's the price of admission to a good life. But your time, energy, and safety are non-refundable. You are allowed to require observable change on a timeline. You are allowed to prefer peace to intermittently brilliant chaos. You are allowed to choose a partner who is boringly excellent at naming, pausing, asking, owning, repairing, repeating. That is what trust is made of. That is what a low-maintenance life together feels like. And if that isn't on offer, you are allowed to choose solitude, not as retreat, but as a home base where your nervous system can breathe, your standards can reset, and the next chapter can be written without apologizing for how much calm you actually need. That's enough for now. Your scars might be on the inside, but scar patches come in all shapes and sizes. Find your patch and protect them with your life. See you soon.